WWE has a potentially powerful program on its hands as the mysterious Retribution faction has slowly been building up steam on WWE television, wreaking havoc as fans wonder who the men and women are underneath these ski masks. Join us now as Wrestlelamia reveals every Retribution member. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, just before we start revealing suspects, let's remember that it's Vince McMahon who is calling the shots in creative, and that not only is the wrestling card subject to change without notice, so are its storylines. By most accounts, Vinnie Mac concocted the Retribution storyline on a whim. Was he admonishing someone for sneezing when he grabbed a tissue and wrote the idea down? We don't know, but we can be certain Vince may not know who Retribution is, where the faction is going in terms of the storyline, or whether he'll change the membership once they take their masks off. If you've been following the Retribution storyline, you know that the original group looked more like a group of high school freshmen than wrestlers, only to grow in size weeks later. While it's possible the group ingested gross maximum quantities of IcoPro or Hulk Hogan injectable vitamins, it's more likely the WWE just called in whoever they could find while they figured out this idea. In a nutshell, the WWE could know every member of Retribution right now, only to change some or all of them later on. But let's look at some of the prime suspects. As we mentioned, there hasn't been a consistency with Retribution members from week to week, but fans have had some significant clues over the last 2 weeks. Consider the 14th September edition of Raw, which not only featured a large group of Retribution members attacking Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre, but which also featured some of them talking.
Waste! Scrap! Byproduct!
Fans and wrestling journalists have done their best to figure out who were behind the masks, even decoding audio. Fans have also pointed to the 7th September Raw where 2 members of Retribution spoke, stating Retribution's motivations for making life miserable for the WWE. The group's goal seems to be exacting payback for the WWE ignoring and underutilizing them. That could actually be half of the main roster. But who could be under those ski masks? Let's look at each one. Number 1. Chelsea Green. One of the theories behind Retribution is that the group is composed of WWE rejects and superstars who never got an opportunity to showcase their talents. Now, Chelsea Green competed on the 6th season of Tough Enough, coming in 4th place. She went to work in Impact where she won the Knockouts Championship, then signed with the WWE working in NXT. Could she be looking for a chance to show her talent has been wasted on NXT? Also consider the 7th August SmackDown where Retribution took out the SmackDown set. Several fans thought they recognized Green's blonde locks underneath a Retribution mask, and while it could have been another blonde brawler, it's something to consider. Chelsea has come up in discussions as to the SmackDown mystery woman, but as we've shown in recent news videos, the consensus is that Carmella is the woman who has been featured in the SmackDown vignettes. If so, this keeps things open for Green operating in Retribution. Number 2. Vanessa Bourne. Like Chelsea Green, Vanessa Bourne was supposedly identified from the 7th August SmackDown, and she too has been rumored to be on her way to the main roster. Bourne has been on NXT since 2016, so it wouldn't be hard to write her in as someone who has grown tired of sitting on the black and gold brand. By most accounts, the WWE has wanted to use her on the main roster since the start of this year, but failed to do so. Could Retribution be the way she finally jumps to Raw? Number 3. Tommaso Ciampa. The theory behind Ciampa as a Retribution member stems from his online feud with Randy Orton. We documented the 2 tumblers' war of words on Twitter, and there were wild rumors of Orton going to NXT to feud with Ciampa. Like several of the names on our list, Ciampa is someone who is always being discussed for a main roster call-up, so it makes sense that he could be involved in Retribution. With Randy Orton wrestling Drew McIntyre for the championship at Clash of Champions, a Retribution run-in could be a good way to target Orton and hint at least one Retribution member's identity and motivation. Number 4. Mustafa Ali. If anyone has a legitimate reason for wanting revenge on WWE, it's Mustafa Ali, an extraordinarily talented wrestler whose career has been on hold for over a year. This despite the promise of him being revealed as a SmackDown hacker, a storyline that seemed to have lots of potential as wrestlers' secrets were revealed by hidden camera surveillance. Ali has been vocal in his dissatisfaction at being stuck on the main event, and the WWE could easily incorporate his displeasure into a reason for joining the group. Number 5. The Forgotten Sons. The aptly named Forgotten Sons tag team went from getting a strong push on SmackDown to becoming persona non grata after member Jackson Ryker tweeted his support for President Trump during the George Floyd protests. Adding Jackson Ryker and teammates Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake to Retribution is a long shot, but it would make sense given the team's near exile from SmackDown. Number 6. Dominik Djakovic. At 6'7", 33-year-old Dominik Djakovic seems like a surefire star for a promotion where size matters. Despite this, Djakovic has failed to win any championships on NXT. The main roster move seems like a good way for him to break out of his rut. Add in the fact that fans believe he was the man who cut the Retribution promo on 7th September Raw, and there's a strong possibility that Dominik is involved with Retribution or even leading the group. If nothing else, the WWE Universe seems to want Djakovic to be in Retribution. Number 7. Mercedes Martinez. There have been a good deal of rumors of Mercedes Martinez making the jump from NXT to the main roster, and she seems like a good fit for the group. Adding to the mystery is that Martinez was reportedly identified in the same voice message made during Raw as Dominik Djakovic was. Number 8. Mojo Rawley. Mojo Rawley's name has come up as one of Retribution's masked men, but according to Sportskeeda's Tom Colohue, Rawley is being used to confuse fans. Commenting on Retribution's 7 September appearance, he noted, "I believe he was put into that particular segment as a way of throwing people off the scent, as it were. The members of Retribution that I'm aware of, 4 of them were there. Mia Yim, Mercedes Martinez, Dominik Djakovic, and Dio Madden. For Mojo Rawley, that is the only time he has been under the mask so far. To my knowledge, he was simply told backstage, 'Can you put this on? It'll throw people off.' While his presence may have been a means to confuse fans about Retribution's actual membership, it's also a reminder that the WWE is likely still figuring out who will make up the group. Number 9. Shane Thorne. Shane Thorne had a brief run on Raw during the early days of MVP's bid to build a faction on the Red brand, and while he's returned to NXT, Thorne was identified as one of 5 Retribution members on the 14th September Raw. Number 10. Mia Yim. A strong performance at 2017 and 2018's Mae Young Classic led to Mia Yim being signed by WWE, and she's been working on NXT since 2018, competing for the Women's Championship, participating in the NXT Invasion angle of 2018, and feuding with Dakota Kai. Yim's involvement in the Invasion angle makes it easier to believe that she was indeed part of the Retribution group from the 14th September Raw. Number 11. Dio Madden. Madden's WWE past includes his time as a wrestler as well as his time as an announcer for 205 Live and Raw. While it's unlikely the fans will get reasons for every member of Retribution wanting revenge, Madden's could be due to him eating an F5 from Brock Lesnar during his last night on Raw. Number 12. Aleister Black. The biggest reason for Aleister Black being a member of Retribution stems from him accusing Kevin Owens of being a member. One of wrestling's oldest tropes is for someone to accuse another of the very thing that they are doing. With the Dutch Destroyer calling KO out as the man behind Retribution, it's easy to see him being revealed as the group's mastermind. This would be a big step for Black, who has been spinning his wheels for the last 3 months. Number 13. Kevin Owens. Aleister Black called out Kevin Owens on Raw Talk, accusing the Red brand's babyface of being involved in Retribution. The case can certainly be made as the lights went out during Owens and Black's 14th September match on Raw. It allowed Owens to get the win. Owens could use a boost in his career since he's become a distant third babyface on Raw next to Rey Mysterio and Drew McIntyre, and it could help the group with his known gift of gab. Number 14. The Miz. The biggest reason for The Miz making our list is due to the 2 back-to-back episodes of SmackDown where he was absent during the start of a Retribution attack. Although the WWE's A-lister would claim he was gone for a good reason, such as taking a phone call from his wife, fans immediately labeled him as a prime suspect in the group. If Retribution is exclusive to Raw, that would seem to rule The Miz out, but things could change if Mr. McMahon sees The Miz as the right guy for the role. And number 15, obviously a wild one, CM Punk. Right now, Retribution would seem like the perfect vehicle to bring CM Punk back to the WWE, a disgruntled former wrestler leading a group of other disgruntled wrestlers. While the idea would likely set the WWE on fire, who's to say if Punk would even want part of such a storyline, even if he decided to return to the promotion? Punk seems like a long shot when it comes to Retribution, but no list of suspects is complete without mentioning him. But there you have it, guys, the possible identities of every Retribution member. Who do you think is behind the masks? Let us know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.